In the red corner, standing at 6'5" tall and weighing in at a giant like 250 pounds, it's Britain's greatest fighter, Lennox the Lion Lewis. Lennox would be coming into this fight the reigning undisputed heavyweight world champion. With a record of 38 fights, 36 wins with 29 coming by way of stoppage, it's safe to say a 34-year-old Lennox Lewis was in the prime of his life, and it would take an animal to stop him. Standing in the opposite side of the ring was a fighter, shorter in height, lower in weight, but massive in heart. All the way from South Africa, the Buffelo Francois Botha. Francois would be coming in standing at 6'2" and weighing 236 pounds. This hard-hitting Buffalo would be boasting 40 wins to his name and only 2 losses. Before we get to the action, let's meet our fighters. Lennox Lewis, the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, and Francois Botha, a South African contender, were set to square off in the summer of the new millennium of the year 2000 at the London Arena, right in the heart of the London Dockyard. This fight had been highly anticipated as it was seen as a chance for Botha to claim a world title, while for Lewis it was an opportunity to solidify his reputation and regain momentum in his career following a somewhat controversial period in boxing. Lennox Lewis had already established himself as one of the premier heavyweight boxers of his era. His amateur pedigree was outstanding, having won a gold medal at the 1988 Olympics, and by the time of his bout with Botha, he had claimed the heavyweight title in 1993. Lewis had faced a mix of formidable opponents and controversial moments in his career. He had first lost his title in a shocking upset to Oliver McCall in 1994, only to reclaim it by defeating McCall in one of the most concerning rematches of all time. The fight with Botha was a crucial one for Lewis, not just as a champion, but also as a boxer in the public eye. With every fight he would take and every belt he would win, the British public would still have something to say about Lennox. The fans would say that he's not British, he only fights tin cans, and the constant comparison to the much-loved Frank Bruno at the time was a factor in his stardom. Lewis would do his best to win over his countrymen with each fight he won and each belt he claimed. Lennox would come to the ring waving the largest of Union Jacks and was known to dedicate his wins to our late head of state, Queen Elizabeth II. Lewis was an active fighter, fighting multiple times a year and looking to take out every contender in the heavyweight division along the way. Partnered with his promoter Frank Maloney, there wasn't a fight in the world Lennox Lewis wasn't up for. Francois Botha was a relatively unknown commodity to many casual boxing fans outside of South Africa. This wouldn't be the first time he would be fighting for the heavyweight title. He actually won the title 5 years earlier, but was stripped of his belt shortly after for failing performance-enhancing tests. His team claimed the dose had been prescribed by a family friend of a doctor for an arm injury. The result of the fight was then changed to a no contest, and the IBF Boxing Council do not recognise Botha as a former champion. Over the next 5 years, the Buffalo would bounce back with a courageous effort with Michael Moorer, again for the IBF title. Moorer's left hand would get the better of our man in the 12th round. The aftermath would see Botha fighting lower-level fighters and bowling them all out one by one. The year before, for the Lennox Lewis fight, would see Botha take on the baddest man on the planet. In a fight, the South African put on a great show, and soon after going 10 great rounds with Shannon the Cannon Briggs, but coming up short with a draw. It's safe to say Francois not only knew his way around the ring, but knew how to punch with the best of them. Fight night would see a packed London arena, and we'll join the fighters in the first round of this heavyweight championship matchup.
Very respected. Larry O'Connell, very respected referee, though described as a lousy judge in an interview by Lennox Lewis. This is a draw. Mr. O'Connell will not be scoring tonight. Botha was waltzing with Frank Warren, his promoter, in the ring while he waited for Lewis. But can he cope with the size, strength, power and class of Lewis here? 12 rounds for the world heavyweight title, as recognised by every sane person on the planet. So good at dominating from the outside, but he'll have to watch the fast hands and counter-punching to land a shot.
And another problem he's got, what's he going to do when
Still on the heavy side for him at nearly 16 stone 13. Same could be said for Lewis. big shot.
Pretty relaxed, just pushing out that jab. Hands holding them pretty low, but looking for that right hand.
Me earlier this week, I hope the fans understand that this fellow's not a mug. He's got a respectable record. Grant, who was his last victim. There's that trademark shot of Lewis, that clubbing right. There's a right hand and Botha's knee now, and there was definitely a shattering effect.
Right hand from Lewis.
Is Lewis on the verge of another, systematically being worked over at range by the jab, and then big right hands being brought into play by Lewis. One of the problems of fighting Lennox Lewis is he can outbox you or outblast you. And Botha can't get in it at the moment.
Schooled, such a good puncher, good with a jab, and so big, so hard to beat.
Huge round for Lewis.
The first round would see a prime Lennox Lewis in full swing. The champion would be pulling no punches and nearly flooring his man in the first minute of the fight. Under Emmanuel Stewart, was there a heavyweight challenger who could step up, seize the crown and beat the great Lennox Lewis? If there was to be such a fighter, was that man going to be Francois Botha? He would come into the fight as confident as ever. But after feeling the long one, two of the men of the hour, I feel the Buffalo's backbone got slightly smaller.
Second round, terrific noise against Oliver McCall, stopped in the second round. On Lennox Lewis's homecoming night, of course the last time he appeared in London he was beaten. Now what can Botha do here? It's one thing him out, just stone heavier.
That's it, you've got to have quick hands and quick feet, you've got to get inside in time.
Botha tries to do something with the...
Just pacing his man down, looking to get him on the end of that jab.
So doesn't have. Sometimes that has been interpreted.
Soften him up behind that jab, pick the right sort of punches.
Just
wary about the speed of him coming back.
Botha says he taught Oliver McCall. There's another honey punch of Lewis's, that right uppercut. Botha may feel more of those. Right hand shot which beat Lewis, and he will produce it himself given the opportunity. Just sucker Lewis in if he can, but I don't think Lennox is buying it at the moment. What he's doing is working. It's a big right hand, and it stumped Botha halfway out of the fight. He Botha down, and in a bad way. Walk towards me, says Larry O'Connell, who stops us again in round two and hands out his own version of...
And to finish it off, he just slumped through the ropes, and the white Buffalo was down.
A great knockout victory for the heavyweight boxing king. This wouldn't be the end for Francois. He would go on to fight for another 15 years, even going up against the modern-day hitman, Joseph Parker, in 2013. Old school fight fans, give that subscribe button a stiff jab. I've been Frank Monroe here at Below the Belt. Take care.